Muy buenos días a todos. Es un placer para mí daros la bienvenida al Galicia Sportech Congress, la cuarta edición. Ya estamos conectados desde Pontevedra, en la Facultad de Deporte, aquí en la Universidad de Vigo, ciudad de Pontevedra. Y nada, simplemente vamos a comenzar con las charlas online, con la primera mesa redonda. Vamos un poco a desgranar sobre esta cadena de valor en relación a la inversión, ¿no?, en la industria Sportech, y para eso ya tenemos conectados a los diferentes ponentes de hoy, y vamos a conectar con Juan Fuentes, quien va a moderar esta primera mesa redonda. Es un profesional especialista en la industria del deporte y en concreto en el sector Sportech. Forma parte también de la red de inversores de Business Angel de Finlandia. Nada, un placer, Juan, estar contigo hoy aquí hablando sobre el sector Sportech.
Thank you, Diego. Thank you very much, and congratulations on your fourth edition of Galicia Sportech. It's really great to be here and to be there tomorrow as well in the on-site event as well for already some years. And yes, I will be moderating the next two roundtables. The first one more focused on investment. We will talk with different executives leading different investment vehicles in the sports industry across Europe. And in the second panel, we will be talking about ecosystems. We will have guests from the US, Hong Kong, Asia, and as well as Spain. And we will try to analyze trends and as well investments in those regions. And yeah, then there will be a panel about Latin America, which will be moderated by another panelists. But with that said, happy to introduce our first panel with three executives. If I am not mistaken, they are based in the Netherlands and in Sweden, in Stockholm, and happy to bring them along. About the format, I have decided to tell them if they can just present executive presentations about what they are doing, because I think it's really interesting for other investors as well, and as well, of course, for startups and executives as well, because I do think they have really interesting models. And me as an angel investor, I have been investing in different sports and media ventures over the last 5 years. I found them particularly interesting. So happy to give them voice. If anyone has any questions, please just write them on the chat, and at the end of the presentations, we will be happy to take the questions and happy to discuss. And of course, feel free to connect with all of us on LinkedIn or by any other means. And with that said, first I would like to introduce Jason Esebum. He is the founder of Join Capital, a really interesting venture where they are trying not only to invest in Sportech ventures, but as well to educate athletes. So with no further ado, Jason, if you would like to take the stage and share who you are and a little bit about your venture, that will be great for the next 10 minutes. And please, thank you very much for joining me today, for joining us, and the floor is yours.
Claro que sí. Gracias a todos. I'll continue the rest in English because my Spanish is not that good. Thank you for inviting me. I'm Jason Esebon, founder of Joint Capital. What we do is we help athletes transform into smart investors. The reason is actually quite simple. I used to be an athlete myself. I played football until I was 19 at a professional academy. Was fortunate enough to play with guys who made it, but unfortunately, I'm not one of them. I had, I think, a good 4 years of playing semi-pro, so made a little bit of money with football. And until this day, I cannot comprehend how much joy it would bring to make serious money from my hobby. But yeah, some of those are able to do it. The biggest issue, however, for athletes is that they make a lot of money, but it's very hard to work with that money over time in an intelligent way. So what we've seen is that athletes for, I think, as long as I can remember, have been making a lot of money, but they also are very good at spending it. The reason is very simple. When you and I were 19 and we had our first jobs, you also spend the money. The bigger difference is that when you and I were 19, that money was not life-changing. And the thing for athletes is quite simple, is that they make pretty much 40 years of income in 10 to 15 years time. This doesn't go for every athlete, but there's quite a few athletes who make that kind of money. And what we're trying to do with Joint Capital is to help them make better investment decisions. It's, I think, quite clear that if you look at the examples from the Premier League, if you look at the examples from the NBA, if you look at NFL, athletes are, I think, within 5 years, I wouldn't say broke, because the research I looked into it's a bit short-sighted, but there are financial troubles, and it's not needed if you manage the money well. I think there was some interesting research being done by the Dutch Football Federation, or Players Association, my bad, and that showed that 65% of Dutch footballers would have liked more financial education during their career. And this is the interesting part. So they're recognizing that during their career, when they make the money, they should make intelligent investment decisions or intelligent financial decisions, of which I think investments is an important part. But they're lacking education. Now, what you see is that a lot of clubs have collaborations with banks. And I, in no form, shape, or way, will try to discredit banks. I used to work at a bank myself. Great people. I had a great time there myself. But the business model of a bank, and also on the private banking side, is to manage your money on your behalf, for which they charge a percentage. Now, banks in general are not outperforming the market. So one could argue that investing your money through a bank, all of your money through a bank, is not the most effective way of getting the results you are looking for. I think that athletes are born investors, which is why we are trying to help them realize that. So what we do with Joint Capital is basically 3 things. We help athletes become investors through education. So we provide them with online courses, workshops, and educational tools to help them understand the foundations of investing. And then we help them apply those through investment opportunities. We have an investment syndicate where we, as a partnership, do deals, and we invite the athletes to invest alongside us. Now, it's completely their decision. It's a deal-by-deal setup. We mostly look for companies that are in the realm of sports, which you'll see in a second in our portfolio. But I think the biggest value that athletes get from our community, from Joint Capital, is the community. So when we speak to athletes, especially the ones who are in team sports, the one thing they all say is that there's maybe 1 or 2 people in our team in the locker room that I can have a conversation with around business. And what Joint Capital does is bring all those 2 people together in our community. We're not looking to build a community of hundreds of investors. I think if we can get towards 50, maybe 100, we'll have a good group. But this group is very tight-knit. They discuss everything from deals towards from real estate to startups, from cash flow businesses to stock market, and even crypto. And I'm not a fan of crypto nor an expert, but this is the great thing. They have somebody else in the community they can discuss it with in order for them to make better decisions. So that's what we provide. Now, if you look at our community, we have about 25. The numbers slightly outdated, so it has grown. 4 different sports. The number of countries, etc., is also old, but we have a bunch of athletes who are in our community. They're from different sports, so football, basketball, tennis, darts even. It's athletes who are in the beginning of their career, athletes who've already been retired, and right in between. And the great thing is that the young athletes have something to learn from the older athletes, but inversely that happens as well. Because the way the young athletes are looking at technology and the way it's applied is completely different from those athletes who are retired. Now, then we get towards our portfolio. We're looking for startups where we can add value beyond money. And I know every investor says this, but we're actually trying to do it because I think it's a critical part of becoming a good investor. If you're unable to influence the success of your investments, particularly when investing into private companies, you're better off with investing in a fund because they are professional. The difficulty is that if you want to invest with the best funds, you need to bring a very large check. And that is, I think, when you're at the beginning of your investment journey, quite hard, both on the money side as well as on the impact that it has in terms of your asset allocation. Different conversation, but that's why we think that athletes should start with smart investments by doing small investments in a lot of companies. Now, we look for companies mostly in the role of sports, so companies that improve the role of sports. whether it's on the fitness side, on the nutrition side, on the monitoring side, but also in connection with fans. And we look for companies that are adjacent. And sometimes you're just lucky and you have a company that you're lucky enough to be a part of because it runs on autopilot. Now, if you look at Plantiga, they fall in the category of sports. So Plantiga is a company that helps you measure how you move with medical correct precision. They quite recently received investment from the NBA and are now also an NBA approved product. And they're working with WNBA teams right now to figure out how they can bring back the number of injuries that are happening, particularly ACL and MCL injuries among female players. Temple's a company from London, a skincare brand. I think for athletes, it has been quite simple to get nice kits in, but for black athletes, the skincare products that are out there don't work as well. We've tried it as an ingredient. It is very likely that Kappa is the supplier. Now, Unit 1, awesome founders. What they do is that they create smart mobility products. Their best-selling products are helmets, but they are also creating a suite of products around it. So smart lights, backpack, a water bottle, you name it. Everything you need in order to move intelligently and conveniently through traffic by bike is what they're creating and they're selling. And they're absolutely killing it. I think last year they sold via Kickstarter. So this is a product that people have never had in their hands, and it's 6 or 7 months away. They've sold close to 1 million of their newest product. The year before it was 400K. So they're doubling every year with these Kickstarters as product introduction. And then obviously you look at what happens after, and sales continue to grow. A very well-run business. We've invested in them alongside Ponuk, which is the family fund of the Pon family, which in turn owns Pon Bike, which is the biggest bike manufacturer in the world, as well as Slingshot Ventures, who's a very well-known consumer tech VC from the Netherlands. And last but not least, we have Rewire Fitness, a company from the US. We invested alongside Under Armour in this company. What they do is that they quantify your mental fitness. Now, I think during COVID, mental fitness was a big topic, and it was it had a lot of attention. After COVID, that went down a little bit, but what Rewire has done and what they are very good at with Zero's Journey is that they're able to quantify your mental fitness and as a coach, give you insight on how your team is performing. Because we right now are able to track load, i.e. know how hard a player has worked and what it does to their physical markers, but we don't know the mental impact. And this is where Rewire steps in. So all these companies, if they succeed, because that is our topic, we believe they make the world a better place because Plantiga helps you measure how you move, which is both for athletes as well as for people going through rehab in any regular setup. Temple, skincare, because we still want to look good. Kappa mushrooms when it comes to sleeping, whether it's reishi or focus, with chaga, cordyceps for VO2 max, or the lion's mane as a pick-me-up. Unit 1, well, helmets, I don't have to, I think, explain why helmets are useful. And again, bringing it back to Rewire Fitness on the mental health side. So we're looking for companies we can support with our network of athletes, opening doors to clubs, brands, federations. We are active investors in terms of support, not in terms of the board. So we don't take board seats. We don't lead rounds. We are looking to do anywhere between 5 to 7 deals a year, check size around 200K. And again, we're happy to speak to companies that are where we can be useful within the sports industry. I think last but not least to mention is that we're looking for companies that are post-revenue. The reason is very simple. We consider ourselves starting investors because we haven't been investing for over a decade, which is a full economic cycle. And therefore, we want to de-risk our investments by investing in companies that are operating at 20K MRR or more. If there are startups listening that feel that they fit this thesis, please go to our website, which is joint.capital. And if you click on the For Startups tab, you can sign yourself up and we'll reach out to you and see whether we can be helpful. Yeah, I guess that's about it.
Thank you, Jason. Just 2 quick questions. I understood maybe by the nature of your syndicate that most of your investments are in performance. Maybe it's also because it's where the athletes really can have a word to say. But you are open, I guess, to other, let's say, verticals of sports tech and also cross-border, I guess. You don't focus only in the Netherlands or Europe, or if you can, comment on those just to give.
No, great question. So if you look at our portfolio, none of these companies are from the Netherlands, actually. So Plantiga is based out of Vancouver, Temple, London, Kappa's in Finland. Now I forgot which city they are. Rewire is based out of the US. Boulder, Unit 1 is in Madrid, but a Delaware company. I think I wouldn't exclude any continents, but I think the US and Europe is our sweet spot because we have a relatively good understanding of those the way those economies behave. And it's also where our network lies. So a company like Plantiga is already working with NFL teams and NBA teams, but they are not working with football teams yet. So we can help them make that take that step. Whereas a company like Temple, which is trying to grow within on Europe mainland, we can also help there. So it's always a matter of where and how can we be useful with the network we have. And then the second part of your question was?
Yeah, that I saw them. Some of the products.
Without
the
sports
startups
tech.
are more in performance, maybe because the athletes is where they are really experts and consumers. But if you're open, to other verticals like such as fan engagement, yeah.
Yeah, we are. I think so. Nutrition is under performance, but the one company we are excited, and I'll name the company about a company called Hexis. It's also a company from the UK. They're focused on precision nutrition. We weren't there yet, but we're still very close touch with those founders. I think for the athletes right now, it's very easy to make an investment decision with products you can try and then also see the benefit it brings to yourself or your teammates or whomever you've introduced it to. And also think that's the best way to get started because then you're involved. With that being said, the more deals we do and the more deals they see, they are better at looking at a deal based on its merits purely, so the numbers, instead of just, do I understand it? So as our community grows and as we do more investments, I believe we'll widen our thesis. Fan engagement, as an example, I think is extremely hard. Most companies I've seen, bar so rare, and I believe there's a deal we missed last year, which still hurts. Mario Götze invested in the company. So what they do is that they aggregate all the content generated during a game, and then they sell it. It's the company. I think they're from France, by the way. But in any case, definitely open to other verticals as long as the metrics are right. But again, with fan engagement, what I've seen is that it's quite hard to scale and go beyond, let's say, having 2, 3, 4 clubs, or really getting those fans in. It's a great solution. Like Manchester United has 100 million fans, but only 75,000 can go to the stadium. So there's a lot of money to be made there, and every company is selling it. Every startup is selling it. That's in fan engagement, but they're not delivering on it. But if there's a company that is, we're definitely open to speak with them.
Perfect. Thank you, Jason. So with that, now we're gonna jump with David, the winger, who is founder as well of V2 Ventures, V2 Studios, and V2 Max are really interesting as well, like vehicle doing different things. So David, a pleasure having you. Thank you for joining. And yes, please, in the next 10 minutes, feel free to share your project, which I think is also very interesting for the audience, and the floor is yours.
Yeah, thanks for that. Am I sharing my screen? Is that working?
Yeah.
Okay, guys, thanks. We are V2 Ventures. As Juan said, we actually have a couple of companies, not just the venture studio, but also a digital agency focusing on sports tech. With the venture part, which we are introducing today, it's like a venture building studio which operates between a digital agency and a VC. So we do invest, but we predominantly invest in our own products. And the reason for doing that is we are a team which have been together for a longer period over the some of us actually about 20 years, but the core team already for the last 4 or 5 years, where we have built different products. One of them being Jogo, which was our sports tech startup, which was very much around utilizing computer vision modeling and sensor tech in the insoles of football shoes for youth football players, which we subsequently sold to 433. I assume I don't need to explain who 433 is in this audience. So obviously one of the biggest social media channels in football. We then went to create a lot of cool technology for 433, several apps, rebranding of Jogo to 433, obviously, and internal applications like custom CMS and content media engine. We have some experience in helping a new to be opened pro club in the US from a branding and tech perspective. NY212 FC, it's still very much in stealth mode, although progress is being made with regards to location, so that's good. Some other things we created as well, Talent Scan, which captures the cognitive side of things for sporters. Fitar, one of our clients, a fitness app, again using gamification and computer vision. Grintify, big client of ours from the Middle East with about 2 million users currently. It's like in Europe, Juan, you would know the Celebrate. This is the Middle East version of Celebrate. What we do as a venture studio, we like to build our own products and do participations, predominantly in sports media and entertainment industries. There are some exceptions, but the common denominator is that it's very heavily focused on the tech side of things, therefore very scalable. I want to show you a couple of things we are currently working on, and which are in different phases of development. So Scoutmate, one of them is to be released by the end of this month. It's in collaboration with the Dutch Federation, solving one of the issues within youth scouting, that everything is done with pen and paper still. So this is something which allows, especially for the Federation, to look at the youth in a little bit more measurable way. So not using data for the sake of data, but just to make the work of the scouts a little bit better. So that's one of them. Paddle play, the best way to explain is basically Jogo for padel. So we're creating a sensor which is in the racket of padel. This one is very interesting. We're talking here with Puma, Red Bull, Decathlon, are setting up a partnership with Premier Padel. So a very interesting piece, this one. Obviously, our experience in building the same thing for football helps. Scorelet, which is a joint venture. This one is really nice, where you can upload your video from your match or your training, regardless of the sport. There are now 7 or 8 sports inside, and a pro a player on that level can then review your video and give you feedback, but in a very structured and natural way again. Mediamorph, this is a thing we've already previously built, but are now building the 2.0 version, which is a content creation machine, which basically generates 100% automated content, which is very relevant for the likes of the football clubs and other big sport clubs who sit on a lot of content already, which they can reutilize during or using our machine, but also going forward creating new content, again fully automated from a copy, labels, and image perspective. This is another one of our participations. It's an existing product. It's a camera solution and annotation platform from Belgium. And I guess this is one of the things which makes us special. There's a lot of venture building studios and digital agencies out there who can ideate and design and build. We can do the same, but then we also have the network to match it, and therefore are very attractive for our client type. So yeah, this is pretty much who we are. And yeah, always happy to utilize my network going forward for anybody listening or interested to talk to us about again product development in the broader sense of the word. Oh, I can't hear you, Juan. Juan, you're on mute. Juan. Sorry, guys. Can anybody hear Juan? I don't hear you, Juan.
Same for me. He's muted.
No,
Sorry, I had the mic off. So yeah, thank you very much, David. Very interesting thoughts. And with that said, if there is any question as well from the YouTube channel, also Diego from Galicia Sportech will share it. But in the meantime, I'm just going to give the floor to the third panelist, who is Jonas Persson, founder of Commercial Sports Media, a really interesting venture from Sweden that as well is also, as far as I understand, and I know you invest in as well through a CVC arm. So yeah, Jonas, please, the floor is yours, and happy to hear more about Commercial Sports Media. It's really interesting because I know the three of you, I've talked with the three of you, but sometimes it's really good as well, to see in a presentation all the things that you are doing, because it's quite interesting. So Jonas, please, the floor is yours, and thank you very much for joining as well today in Galicia Sportech.
Thank you. I'll see if I can share. Do you see my?
Yeah.
You see it? Okay. Yeah.
It's not
thank
full
you.
screen.
Thank you,
I don't know if you can put full screen if you prefer, but now right now it's not full screen. It's just we can see the.
See if we can.
But up to you. I mean, please go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I talk to you about Commercial Sports Media, a little bit where we come from and where we are heading. My background, I've been in sport and media since the mid-90s, founded a company in 94, IEC in Sports, focusing on TV sport rights and TV production. So we built that company over 15 years and represented about 300 sporting events around the world, having offices on all continents but Africa. We sold that business to Lagardère 2007 and joined then with Sport 5 and World Sport Group. I remained with Lagardère for 5 years, and then I left there in 2012, 13 something. Worked a little bit as an advisor for an investment bank in Stockholm that was focusing on media business. But then in 2014, 15, I founded new companies. So one was or is Commercial Sports Media, focusing on media rights advisory on the premium side of content. And then also launched Sportway, and I will talk a little bit more about that later on, and DMC Production. I've been, as I said, quite a long time in the industry, since the mid-90s, and at that time there were more or less 1 or 2 sport stations per or even TV channels per territory in the Western world. And then you had the markets opened up with political changes and also the technology development, and you had cable and satellite entering the media world, which meant that you did then have 1 or 2 sport channels per territory, and the demand for sport content increased tremendously over a period of 10-15 years, and a number of big aggregators appeared in the market, where our company IEC was one of the bigger ones. And then you had the entrance of the digital companies starting in 2004, 5, 6 something, with also the betting companies entering into the world of buying sport rights. And you had the development of pure ETT digital players like Perform. And you did also see a lot of telecom companies entering into the media business as such by buying broadcast rights. All of that fueled the development of the TV sport business. In the next phase, you had the entrance of the social media companies. 10, 15 years ago, people in our industry thought that these guys were up to buying proper TV rights, as the telcos and the TV companies had done. But it has turned out that there have been more a complement to existing media buyers. But still, they have a strong position, of course, in the industry today. And what has happened in the latest phase of the development is that you have the e-commerce companies and then also the hardware companies like Apple buying the MLS soccer rights in the US. So what this means is that the industry has become more and more complex over time, and the demand for media rights advisory has hence strengthened over time. So the footprint where we are operating, commercial sports media, the DMC Production, Sportway, and now lately CSM Venture, is between the rights owners, who are clubs, leagues, federations, agencies, and event companies. And on the other side, you have the rights buyers, traditional media companies, streaming platforms, e-commerce platforms, and betting companies. But what we have done since 1.5 years is to focus also on the venture side and the Sportech side of the business. So we have built and strengthened relationships with private equity companies, venture capital companies, but also with Sportech companies in the Nordics. The Nordic market is pretty active when it comes to Sportech. We sense that there are is a lot of focus on European sport properties and European sport tech companies at the moment, where US money is coming into Europe, and also obviously money coming in from the Middle East, while the Chinese money have dried up, or they have gone somewhere else. And we've taken on the position and built a strong knowledge and made contacts with sport tech companies in the Nordics. And our preferred way of investing is in companies that we can link to our already existing infrastructure, and where we see that we can help the companies to grow commercially, but also to help them to source capital when needed. So what we have done in terms of investments are among the following: Play Replay, which is a Swedish electronic line calling system based on eye technology, focusing on tennis at the moment, but could also be used in other sports where you have lines where you need to measure if the ball is in or out. And since we worked a lot with tennis, especially in our old days, we have a strong network in the sport, and we are helping them to win commercial contracts at the same time as we've been investing. And Sportway is the company I mentioned before. Is a company providing live AI production of mid-tier and low-tier sports. So we have about 1,200 installations of AI cameras in all ice hockey arenas in the Nordics and in Czech Republic, and another 5 markets are under construction. And we also do live AI for handball, field hockey, football. We do the 3rd and 4th leagues in Denmark and Norway, and the 3rd league in Sweden. And volleyball and floorball are other sports that we do. And then we have also, we add on other functionalities like coaching tools and other services based on the AI production we do. Then we invested in Golf Gamebook, which is a digital scorecard for golfers. And we did a recent investment in a bowling company, Lane Talk, which is another Swedish sport tech company. And they are connected to 80% of all the bowling arenas or bowling lanes over the whole world, which means that more or less all bowlers can have their score registered in Lane Talk's app. So their business model is very similar to Golf Gamebook, and we have gotten the management teams to work a little bit together and to compare notes on their different challenges. And DMC production is more traditional broadcast, but it is based on remote production. So our latest contract is actually with Galicia Sportech in Amsterdam, where we do all their playout service from Hilversum, coordinating at the peak of the days 50 incoming broadcast signals, and now packaging the channels on Galicia Sportech pay TV channels. And we built these production centers also in Oslo and Helsinki and in Stockholm. And we are about to launch in Denmark in July, where we will produce all of Danish football from 1st to the 4th league with different types of technologies. And then we have an investment in a Japanese actually a betting company called Mistino. And then we also have mandates to help some companies to raise capital. So one client of ours just now is Wise Sport, which is a Finnish analytics company based on chip technology in ice hockey pucks and ice hockey jerseys. And we also sometimes do advisory work for the private equity companies looking to invest in sport. Yes, that's us. Here are a few examples of our clients where we work as advisors. It's mainly ice hockey federations leagues and football leagues.
Thank you, Jonas. Thank you very much for your thoughts. I was curious because you shared one of your investments is from Japan. You are focusing mostly in the Nordics, but also opening to other international ventures. Are you still looking for investments nowadays? Are you actively looking for them? And will you be open to international out of the Nordics potential opportunities?
Yeah, well, of course, we're open to that, but we try to focus on the companies in the Nordics, and this Japanese venture is actually run by Swedish entrepreneurs. So it happened here in Stockholm, but the market is for this case is in Japan.
Okay,
but we of course open for business, but we're not that big of an organization, so we focus quite a lot on the Nordics.
On the Nordics makes complete sense. Well, thank you very much. I don't know if Diego, there is from the YouTube channel any question or any comment. In any case, in barely 15 minutes, we're going to start the next panel. I don't know if any of the panelists now that just spoke has any thought, any comment, would like to raise any topic to discuss in the next 5 minutes. Feel more than free, but it's been great to have you here. I think we have maybe first the part of the session more focused on performance, and now with Jonas and more focused on media management, so different types of technology that we are all putting the focus on, and as well different sports, golf, paddle, which are also, I think, increasingly interesting. So if there is any question or any highlight you would like to share, David, Jonas, or Jason, feel free. And if not, let's leave it here. The recording will be available in the Galicia Sportech YouTube channel. And if there is anything from the audience, Diego, also let us know. So if the panelists would like to say some final words, will be great.
I have one question actually to Jonas, if you don't mind. Jonas, you're in the world of media, and I guess that the segment of fan engagement is very closely linked. What is your vision on it? Because I'd consider you a specialist in the area. What is your vision on fan engagement, and where do you think the biggest opportunities are for clubs?
It's very wide field, of course. It is always linked to rights situations, and you always have the situation with the federations, the leagues, and the clubs, and most of the rights are centralized when it comes to football, and so it's and when the leagues, when they are selling their rights, they want to be able to offer as much, normally be able to offer as much rights as possible to gain the most rights fees from the media market. But that might be challenged as we speak, since we now see that many football rights deals go flat, or even risk going down, and that will probably put pressure on the leagues from the clubs to keep rights for commercialization within their own ecosystem, and linked to that is the whole matter of Generation Z, who are not as keen to watch full-length games as maybe as the older audience used to do, and I think that's a very important matter for the industry to crack, how to commercialize and make money on the short formats. And I don't have a clear solution on that, but that's a main topic for professional football.
You're cutting on something that I heard somebody else talk about as well. The reason why I'm asking is because there are quite a few companies that approach me that are trying to do this in the metaverse, whether it is with avatars or just creating games with athletes themselves, which offer athletes the opportunity to have their own rights 100% owned in a particular game. But it feels like we're looking for a solution for a problem that is yet to be, I think, not necessarily defined, but scoped in the right way in order for a solution to work. And again, I was interested in your perspective, being, I don't want to put you in the box of the media guy, but in this particular panel, you are the media guy. And
that's my background.
I was curious. Okay,
Yeah.
I was curious about your thoughts there. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, then if there is not other comments or questions, we're gonna leave it here, this panel. In 10 minutes, we are starting the second panel with Ecosystems from the US, TechStars, one of the main sport tech accelerators in the US, with Sport Boost, founded by Iker Casillas, also an investor and accelerator, and also if in Asia with AC Sportech. So please, the audience, feel free to join us in 10 minutes. And thank you very much again, the panelists, Jonas, Jason, and David, for sharing your projects, which I think they are really interesting for the whole ecosystem. And have a great day, everyone.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you very much, and have a great one.
Thanks, guys.
Pleasure seeing you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
I think we have Jean-Baptiste is already here. And let's see. Yeah, okay. Jan, can you hear me?